laps. Then we switched gear to drive. We went down the rocky beach road that looked like a meteor shower had hit it. Then we turned onto the paved road. My dad had to come to a complete stop at the four-way intersection. I was tired from being at the beach all day, and I was thinking about taking a nap when I got back to the beach house. Then, when all the other golf carts were gone, my dad slammed the gas pedal, and the golf cart went flying. I felt my bottom start to slip off the back seat. I grabbed the handle, but my hand was slipping. Then, my hand got down, so that I was almost being dragged by the thundering golf cart. I let go of the handle because I didn't want to be dragged the rest of the way home. I flew into the middle of the intersection. A lady in a big red Jeep had just gotten to the intersection. She jumped out of her Jeep to see if I was okay. My mom had gotten out of the golf cart and was also running towards me. My knees and hands were flooding with blood. My mom picked me up. She told my dad to go ahead and go home. My mom carried me all the way back to the beach house. My grandmother put gauzes and bandages all over me. For the next few days, all I could do was sit and watch TV with my cousins. Well, somewhere here. The big red Jeep. I don't really get a picture of my ride of that.
Let's look. I love doing monkey bars and I love racing, so I raced across the fun monkey bars. I felt like the wind coming, making my hair flying in the air. I felt like I was flying. Yes. Can you tell me what your hands were doing or what? Monkey bars, I'm not sure. Are they the ones that I climb up like this or are they the ones that I go across? I'm not sure. Well, what action was your body doing? Add maybe one more idea. That's really good. Taysha, let's see. What was your sentence?
Cheryl completes the day's lesson by asking the students to return to the rug for one last whole class activity. This time, the students celebrate their progress by sharing their revision ideas in the author's chair.
The kindergartner watching us was sentenced I used, and I explained it to this. The kindergarten with big round eyes locking on me like I was a target.
Wow. The kindergartners. Oh, yeah. I get so excited with your ideas. The kindergartners' big brown eyes locked on me like I was the target. I can see a kindergartner do that. Stevie, thank you. Some of you asked, are we going to have to rewrite all this? No, Caleb. The good news is these are just ideas, and these are called revisions. They're ideas that we see after we've drafted, and we can put them in there. You'll have a choice in the future to either pick up this personal narrative again or maybe start another one and really try to use this strategy. Raise your hand if you think you'll try this strategy and if it'll help your writing. Okay, I still have to work on a few more. Great job, boys and girls.
In Sylvia Edgerton's 5th grade classroom in Phoenix, Arizona, the past 2 days have been spent studying another revision strategy, using visual imagery to zoom in on a scene. To demonstrate how the technique works, Sylvia has relied on passages from Esperanza Rising and Polar Express, books the students have read in class, and from her own writing. The class has also analyzed an illustration from Too Many Tamales to practice moving further and further into a scene. Now it's the 3rd day, and Sylvia's turned to an excerpt from Charlotte's Web to model the strategy with her 5th graders.
I know in class we haven't read any work by E.B. White, and E.B. White wrote Charlotte's Web. Anybody read Charlotte's Web before? Great, okay. So this is from Charlotte's Web, and I took a passage from Charlotte's Web, and this is what it says. Stretched across the upper part of the doorway was a big spider web. So I'm going to give you this form in a minute, and when you read this, I want you to think about the picture that you see, and then I want you to draw that picture right underneath on this box. Okay, then the second passage says, and hanging from the top of the web, head down, was a large gray spider. She was about the size of a gumdrop. You see it? Are you seeing it? Yeah. Okay, and then the last passage. She had 8 legs, and she was waving one of them at Wilbert in friendly greeting.
Because the technique Sylvia's modeling is so visual, she has decided to reinforce her lesson with an activity that combines art and writing. At her direction, the students create a sort of storyboard, drawings that represent what they see from the beginning to the end of the passage from Charlotte's Web. After the students have finished their storyboards, they walk around the room to look at all their classmates' drawings. Then Sylvia asks them to comment on what they've seen. Following this discussion, Sylvia will share a second example of the new revision strategy, this one from a student's personal narrative.
I don't want to know which pictures you liked, which ones were the best. That's not what this is not what it was about. Okay, this is about what pictures did you see that you could actually see the whole thing, and then zooming in, zooming in, zooming in. Michelle?
Francisco's.
Why? What did you see there?
He made the spider web and then when he did the spider, it was little, and when on the last one, you can see it all big and everything.
Yeah, and that first picture was so tiny little, you couldn't see details or anything.
Miguel's.
What did you see in Miguel's?
First it was the door and the spider web, and then it was half of the door and the spider web, and then it only was like a little tiny bit of the door and the whole spider web and the spider.
Now I have a story I'm going to read to you, and this story was written by Kimberly, and Kimberly is a 6th grade student, and she was in my class last year. I want you to listen to the story, and then we're going to pay attention to something that she did in her own story. The day at the beach. Are you done yet? I asked. No, my mom said as she was getting ready so we could go to the beach. 15 more minutes. Oh, I can't wait to get there. I heard the seagulls calling as we were getting close. I saw some kids playing in the sand making sandcastles. I saw them up close. They were nice and round. And we're going to look at this first page. And we're going to pay particularly attention to okay, that part right there. Jonathan?
What I think that she could see is not in the writing. Like, what I think she could see and it is not in the writing. Okay. It's like the ocean, because when we went to the beach, I could see the seals and I could see the water too.
Yeah, so even though she didn't put it in there, if you've been to the beach, you actually see the water and everything else because the seagulls are so far up there. You can actually see the water, maybe the beach.
When I see the girl running up to the boys and asking them, can I help you build the sandcastle?
Okay. And before that, what were you able to see before that when she got up there?
Before, I seen the car like getting closer and closer to the beach.
Okay. So it was driving up, and getting closer and closer. Let me tell you a little story about what happened when Kimberly was working on this story. She came to me, and last year, it's interesting that, Jose, you brought in zoom in. That's what we called it last year, a zoom in. And Kimberly came to me and she said, Mrs. Edgerton, I went to the beach and I want to do a zoom in. And we talked about it, and one of my suggestions was that maybe she could do exactly what some of you saw, the beach and the waves coming in onto the beach. But when she wrote it, she didn't. She decided that she wasn't going to use my suggestion. She thought that was enough to say that I heard the seagulls calling as we were getting close. She said, I think that people who've been to the beach, they won't only see the seagulls, they'll see the water and the beach and everything else. And then I want them to see the castle, and then I want them to see how the castles are round. So do you think she accomplished that? Yeah, she did a nice job. Well, today, I want you to try this. I want you to take out your writing notebooks. And I want you to find a passage, an idea in there that you think that you might be able to do a zoom in. I want you to do the try it. Remember, on the left side of the book, you should have a blank page. And if you don't, just let me know, okay, and we'll work it out. Find a place where you might be able to do a zoom in. Well, one of the things that I enjoy listening to students when they revise is the different ways that they revise. Last year I had a student, I was conferencing with her, and I asked her how she thinks about the revision strategies and how does she, use the revision strategies. And she said, well, I write and I write and I write, and then I stop and I think back, have I used repetition? I go back and I read it, and if I haven't, then I think, could I put it in here? And that's how she would do the revision. She wouldn't do revision after the piece. She would do revision as she was working on the piece, and it worked really well for her. So there is no set way of doing revision for in the classroom and for all students. Each student needs to find their way into those revision, into the revision process.
Suppress. Suppress.
That sounds good. Alright, so May and 2000. Wait,
It was right here when it started, like all of the when I could like hear then see then I went in the backyard like that.
Because when you read the first one to me last time, it wasn't getting close kind of, but now when you changed it, it says like it shows when you saw the balloons and the music, it got close and close and closer, like zooming into the picture. I could see in my mind going closer and closer.